my problem with a normal White Russian is the amount of flavor it has to the amount of sugar it has is way off. It's just way too sweet, and if you try to up the amount of Kahlua, it just makes it even sweeter. Okay, so the White Russian is probably one of the most well-known and probably the most popular coffee cocktail in America. And if you saw my video last month about making coffee at home, you know that I'm pretty passionate about my coffee, but I'm also pretty passionate about cocktails. Honestly, I'm more passionate about cocktails than I am about coffee. So we're gonna take those two things, combine them together, and see if we can make a better White Russian than the standard traditional recipe. What most bartenders would do is use something like Mr. Black, which is a premium cold brew coffee liqueur from Australia that's just not very sweet. So you replace the Kahlua with that and you end up with a great drink. But I didn't want to just spend more money on the White Russian to make it better. What I wanted to do was spend more time. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make your own coffee liquor, not liqueur because it's not sweetened, a butter washed vodka, a toasted cream, and a simple syrup on the end just because why not? Okay, so let's start by explaining our coffee liquor. So I took 1 cup of white rum, 2 cups of coarsely ground coffee. If you have a whole vanilla bean, go ahead and split one, scrape the seeds out and add that in. I didn't, so you'll see what I did after the fact. Put it in like a mason jar, shake it up, leave it overnight. 24 hours is really the ideal amount of time. And then after that, you can add in 2 tablespoons of crushed cocoa nibs, a whole cinnamon stick, a small piece from the outer part of an orange peel. I used a paring knife for this, or if you've got a Swiss peeler, you can do that, but don't go too large on that or it'll dominate the flavor profile. And then a small piece of Untitled Chile. Give it another good shake and leave it for another 24 hours. Then you're gonna strain it out. I used a large metal strainer and then a coffee filter underneath in my pour over setup. And that worked really well so that I wasn't overwhelming my small coffee filter with all of this big chunks of coffee and stuff, but then I still got all of the really fine particles out. Now, I actually screwed this up and added my cocoa nibs and everything at the beginning and then realized it and had to scoop them off the top of the coffee and rum mixture, and it worked out. So this recipe is not rocket science. It's very easy to get right. You don't have to worry about being super precise with it. It's very forgiving, and because you're letting it soak for a total of 48 hours, that time will cover over a lot of mistakes. Now, going back to what I said earlier about vanilla, I have some homemade vanilla extract made with just some good vodka and whole vanilla beans, so I used an ounce of that to add to all of my finished filtered liqueur, and it ended up tasting just the way I wanted it. If you're worried about it, you can add it in smaller quantities and just taste it as you go. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is very powerful. I would not recommend drinking it straight. That's not the point. It's meant to be very strong, so you can add a good, complicated coffee flavor to any kind of cocktail without affecting the sweetness level. Okay, ingredient number 2. So this is butter washed vodka. Essentially, butter washing, well, fat washing is what it's called, is where you add in some sort of fat to a distilled alcohol. In this case, just sweet cream butter. The basic science behind it is that alcohol will dissolve both fat and whatever flavors are in the fat and water, so that it doesn't have a weird texture. It just brings all of those flavors in. So add some melted butter and a vodka together, shake it up in a jar, let it sit for a while. I let it go for 24 hours because I was making the coffee liquor. And then after that, stick it in the freezer. With harder fats, if you put it upside down like I did, the fat will rise to the top, which is going to be the bottom side of the jar, and become really hard. So then when you flip it over and take the top off, you can just pour out all of the spirit and you end up with hardly anything to strain. Butter gets a little bit soft, so it didn't really work, but it will work if you're using something like bacon fat and bourbon. After you filter it out, if you don't squeeze your coffee filter, if you just let it drain out, it'll be almost completely crystal clear. If you squeeze it a little bit, it'll be slightly milky, but it doesn't affect the texture, and it's a great way to avoid throwing away vodka. And the butter, if you squeeze all the vodka out of the butter, you can actually use it. The texture, when it's unmelted, is a little crumbly, but once it melts, it's fine. It's especially great to use in cooking. So that's our butter washed vodka. Very soft, subtle butter element to this vodka. Now, this is super basic, and most of you guys probably already know how to do this, but I said I was going to do it. So simple syrup is just equal parts water and sugar. It's a great sort of neutral sweetener. But for something like this, where we're trying to maximize the amount of flavor, I used Demerara sugar, which is just a raw sugar. You could use a turbinado sugar or something like that, but just anything that's going to have more complex, more interesting flavors. Equal parts hot water, sugar, whisk it up till it's nice and combined, stick it in a bottle, stick it in the fridge, and use it whenever you want. And then finally, the last ingredient, the toasted cream. What the heck is toasted cream? Well, you just take cream, add a little baking soda, half pint of cream to an 1/8 teaspoon, put it in a jar or a vacuum pack bag or whatever, something that's gonna be sealed and safe to heat, and you cook it sous vide for 24 hours at 180 degrees. If you don't know what sous vide is, just do a little Googling. There's a great channel called Sous Vide Everything. Check them out and you'll find out everything you need to know about sous vide cooking. In the end, you get cream that's not reduced at all because all of the moisture has been trapped into the jar the whole time, but it ends up caramelizing the sugars, so you end up with this nutty, rich, almost sweeter flavor, but there's no sugar added. It's great in coffee and it's great in this cocktail. Making all this stuff at home took a lot of work, took a lot of effort. It didn't cost a lot of money, but you know, a lot went into it. And so I have a super biased opinion. So I took this over to my brother's house and we set up some cameras and I mixed him an original White Russian with real, just Kahlua and regular vodka. And then I mixed him up one with mine with the sugar syrup, the toasted cream on top, and of course our homemade coffee liquor and butter washed vodka. Now, when I made it for him, this was the recipe that I was using for the original White Russian. 2 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of Kahlua, and then I took one of those condiment squeeze bottles and I took the spring off of my cocktail strainer, put it inside the bottle, screwed the lid back on, and shook it up until it was kind of a foamy consistency, but not like whipped cream. And this allows it to float on the top of the drink and not combine down in when you serve it, which looks beautiful. It just looks beautiful. Try this anytime you're making a cocktail that uses cream. Okay, and then for the homemade zhuzhed up nerd White Russian, I used 2 dashes of bitters. Whatever kind of chocolate bitters you want to use, go with that. 1/2 ounce of our demerara syrup, 1 ounce of our coffee liquor, and 2 ounces of our butter washed vodka. Stir it up over a nice solid clear ice cube until you've got everything kind of combined. Shake up your cream, float it on top, and here was his reaction. Whoa. Totally genuine. Now, I don't know that he liked it better. He's not much of a hard alcohol drinker. He's not like a whiskey guy like I am, so he kind of likes the sweetness of it, but it was definitely very, very different. So if you like the idea of a good coffee and cream sort of cocktail, but you don't like a White Russian, consider trying this. Of course, all of these ingredients could be tweaked and adjusted however you want. Like I said, it's not rocket science. I want to encourage you guys, like, give it a try. If you don't like it, it's not super expensive. It's not like going and dropping $40 on a bottle of liqueur that you may or may not use a second time. But whether or not you're watching this channel and even ever make cocktails, whether you're a complete teetotaler or not, you should try the toasted cream. Like, if you have a sous vide, it's incredible. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna be making some more cocktail videos because this is a passion of mine. You guys probably didn't know this, but I almost became a bartender. When I was in my teens, I really wanted to become a bartender, and I'll tell the story as to why I didn't some other time. But if you guys wanna see videos like this before everybody else, go over and check out my Patreon. For $1 a month, you get to see all the videos, and just check out the tiers. My name is Luke Wallstead, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.